The road to purgatory is paved with pure, pristine motives and intentions. So how does one know if he's truly on the high road to utopia, cruising 65 on the parkway towards Gan Eden and paradise? Or is he acting with good intentions, but he is on the Autobahn, on the high road into the Be'er Shachas, the well of destruction? But heaven forbid he doesn't even know it until he's arrived. To answer this, to get down to the crux of how to define our intentions and our actual bringing them forth to their manifestation and completion, and to identify the dead giveaway inside of our own actions and intentions, I'd like to compare and contrast two different stories that are juxtaposed in our Parshas Vayeishev. Two stories that seem to be disparate, totally separate, yet weirdly have many parallels, similarities, much overlap. But then when you dig even deeper into the subterranean text, you'll find that these two juxtaposed stories could not be more different. Vayeishev hured Mitzrayma v'yikoneu Potifar sris parosar hatabachim ish Mitzri miyadi Yishmaelim asher haridu shama. You know the story. Joseph receives a technicolored dream coat. Brothers get jealous, throw him into a pit of vipers, snakes, and scorpions. He's sold multiple times down into the hands of Potifar, the Egyptian official. And no matter how many times Joseph is literally thrown to the wolves, he continues to rise up from the pits of snakes and scorpions, the pits of a prison, the pits of wild bears, and immoral-seeking humans to the very, very top, as he is the man that is deemed successful, the Ish Matzliach. He is Yosef Atzadik. And one of the most telling and defining moments in Yosef's life is a story with Eshes Potiphar, his master's wife that constantly makes advances to try to lure him into an inappropriate relationship, to which Yosef says, Vayeishev, he refuses. He says no, and an enduring no that will not be questioned. And he is a hero for all time, and that no echoes till this very day. And right before this, the episode that immediately precedes Yosef Hatzadik's great denial of Eshes Potiphar's advances is a story of how Tamar engaged in some controversial approaches to find her way into the house of Jacob, the Beis Yaakov. All she wanted was to just spawn offspring and be a part of the holy Israelite cult or fraternity, for a better word. And to no avail. Every single shidduch that she was read, every single person she married would not get off his smartphone, would watch inappropriate entertainment, and then engage in some sinful behavior, so God plucked him from this earth. Her two husbands, Judah, Yehuda's sons, they both were taken by God for poor decision-making, and now Tamar is left alone. She's got nothing else except Yehuda says, I do have one more son, and eventually we'll read him to you, and you'll have a shidduch, and all will be well. She finds it to be not a very exciting opportunity. That resume doesn't exactly go to the top of the stack. So she takes matters into her own hands when Tamar, as the pasuk says, went forward, took off her widow's garb, covered her face with a veil, wrapped herself up, sat down at the entrance to Einayim, which is on the road to Timnah, for she saw that Shelah was grown up. That's the last boy, the red shidduch, that she really wasn't very interested in. And she sat there pretending to be a zona, a harlot, somebody selling her services. And through some divine intervention, Tamar's wish had been granted, and she was able to spawn children from the base Yaakov. She was actually able to be a part of the bloodline and breed Mashiach through this relationship. And these two very similar stories, Yosef and Eshes Potiphar and Tamar and Yehuda, they are placed next to each other in the Torah scroll, not by coincidence, but immediately next to each other, their juxtaposition, says Rashi, Kedei, Lismoch Maisa Ishto Shel Potifar Lamaisa Tamar Lomar Loch. These two stories are next to each other to tell you, Ma zu l'shem shomayim, af zu l'shem shomayim. Just like this one acted purely, virtuously for the sake of heaven, also this one acted for the sake of heaven. Would you believe it? Chazal revealed to us that both meant well. Both wished to cruise down the highway to Gan Eden, acting for the sake of heaven. Intentions were pure. Now, Tamar's motives are very clear. We understand why she would want to hang out with the Shiftei Ka, find a good shidduch, and be a part of the eternal Jewish people and sing Kumbaya, serving Hashem and bringing satisfaction to the Almighty all the days of her life. But what pure motives of Shem Shemayim can be said about Eshes Potiphar? Says Rashi, I'll explain to you. Shirei Osa be'itzdralajin shela she'asidin laha'amod banim mimena. Eshes Potiphar, she saw through her stargazers, fortune tellers, and astrologists that she was destined to unite families and to have spawn offspring from Joseph. But she did not know whether it was to be through herself to cohabit Eshes Potiphar and Joseph, or maybe mibita, or maybe from her daughter. Now, spoiler alert, she made the wrong call. She bet the house, bet the farm, and made a horrible decision because while it was close but no cigar, she missed it by that much. She is nowhere near the same legacy and has not even the slightest bit of resemblance in her actions to the sacred and hallowed Tamar. Yet Reb Eliyahu Lapian wants to know why. He wants to know why, if Chazal tell us that they both acted purely, they both acted l'shem shomayim. That was the only difference that we may have thought that one made a poor decision or one made a good decision was someone was acting from their own whims and not from heaven. That has now been stomped out because we see both acted altruistically with good intentions for the sake of the Almighty. So why is it, if they both were l'shem shomayim, that one is called cursed by Chazal, one is looked to with such disdain, such utter disgust, while the other one is glorified? Tamar is lauded. Tamar is applauded. Tamar is even zochet to be a part of the bloodline of the Heilige Mashiach. May it come speedily in our days. One of these women is crowned and adorned through Jewish history as a champion of the Almighty, and the other is looked at with such wretched disdain and disgust. Why, if they both acted thoughtfully, virtuously, morally, and for the sake of heaven? The great Talmud of the Alter of Kelm, the graduate from the Kelm Talmud Torah as well, the holy Reb Eliyahu Lapian, one of the major characters and founders truly of the Musar movement, he explains to us the solution. And it is Sof ma'aseh v'machshava techila. Hopefully words that you're familiar with. Sof ma'aseh, the end of all deeds. V'machshava techila was always in the original plan. Was there and part of your knowledge and part of your intentions at the beginning. This quote, hopefully you're familiar with. Find it in verse 2 of Lechadodi of Reb Shlomo Alkabitz's great hymn that we sing on Friday night. Truly, there probably are more biblical sources that we can quote here because Reb Shlomo Alkabitz Zechayin Livracha is probably drawing from Psukim and Shir Hashirim. But the Yesod of Eliyahu Lapian tells us is that while you do have good intentions, you do start out for the sake of heaven, her motives, let's talk Eshes Potiphar here before we get down and dirty and personal. The astrological calculations were there. She really also wanted to spawn offspring from Joseph as the astrologists had predicted. She wanted to be the wife of Yosef, maybe. Beget children, grandchildren, that would bring her also into the fold of Yaakov Avinu. But the prophecy, or the astrologists, they said that it's going to be whether from you or your daughter. But then, with that bit of ambiguity, Rav Lopian points out that what started as something that could have been good, she engages in all of these odd practices, goes about some really devious and cruel behavior, because once started as pure, ultimately she had gone awry. She had gone confused, and the physical nature and the desire, the handsomeness of Yosef led her to unorthodox ways, the passion and the taiva that she just wanted to be with him, the appeal of Joseph, his looks, his personality. It led her to say, no, it's really me. It's not my daughter. She overstepped. She put herself into the picture in a way that she really wandered into unorthodox, abnormal places, and what started as L'Shem Shamayim, which really even she believed continued L'Shem Shamayim. She was mistaken. And instead of understanding the mistake, which clearly came about as she kept getting a no from him, she didn't take no for an answer, but all she did was whine and cry and cheat and engage in more immoral practices, do more slightly disgusting things, perverse, cruel. And then finally, when she got her big fat no to her face on her big moment, all she did was lie about it and say Yosef had attacked me and thrown him down into the prison. Everyone even knew she was lying, the commentators say. But all of it was paved with good intentions. But says Rav Le'apian, if you find yourself in uncharted, cruel, pathetic, perverse, unethical actions, and you think that you're acting for the sake of heaven, you must, guess again, you must re-cheshbon, recalculate. She should have seen that, hey, maybe the question is it me or my daughter? Maybe it actually is my daughter. Maybe I'm not supposed to be medabra elav yom yom. Maybe I am not supposed to lie and cheat and steal and engage with such passion, licentiousness, and perverse ways to try to bring about God's will. She should have taken a step back and said, wait a second, am I supposed to be doing this? And she didn't. And so she's disgraced because she doubled down on what she believed to be l'shem shamayim, but really was all her passion, her drives, her lust, that sent her into some really, really terrible places. Some brutal miscalculations in her strivings. You see, she engaged in shakranus, deceit, lying. That is not the way to go about accomplishing l'shem shamayim. Tamar, let us examine what she did. She was probably the most modest, tznius zona ever. We say that with quotes around it. She was double covered if you see the psukim. No one recognized her. We see that she went about things in a way that Yehuda didn't even recognize her because she was so tznius that her father-in-law didn't even know what she looked like. The Zohar tells us that actually when that Maisa actually was to be, that angels would come and the administrators of lust to help push Yehuda because this is something that need to happen to proliferate Mashiach and have eventually the Messiah be born through this relationship. We find that Tamar sat in the spot of Avram Avinu's tent. We have a Mer Nevuchim and Gimel Mem Tes. That Tamar was one big permitted action. Kedesha, the act of harlotry, it's not even prohibited before the Torah, per se. But the Rambam proves that this whole action was actually a Maisa Kiddushin, an act of betrothal halachically. That was the ring. The Rambam shows how there was a kasuba, and that's the different payment, the cord and the staff. And everything was to be tzodka mimeni when finally there's a chance to rat someone out. Tamar says nothing. And we learn halachos from her, that you're not allowed to embarrass people, and it's better to fall into a fiery furnace than to embarrass someone. And Yehuda then goes and says, tzodka mimeni, I have done wrong, you're more righteous than me. Don't you see that what starts with pure righteous intentions, l'shem shamayim, if you do not check your motives, check your actions, double check and filter and drill down, why am I doing this? Where is this leading me? And maybe you've made a grave error. And maybe you're acting more like Eshes Potiphar or more like Tamar. And hopefully it's the second one. That you're acting purely, holy. It's a very, very subtle point here. But what is l'shem shamayim must be that the actions represent that all the way through. And the pushing and the trying and the bit of akshanos should never lead you into an area of sin and of wrongdoings. Otherwise, you end up cursed like Eshes Potiphar. There are two clear takeaways, maybe even three, but it really is all one. If you are engaged in an endeavor, you are pursuing and chasing down something, building something, creating something, you wish to create something, and you find yourself then, all of a sudden, doubling down on your efforts, but you find yourself in foul territory, out of bounds, engaging in foul play. But then, instead of taking a step back, shaking yourself awake, calming yourself down and reorganizing, instead of that, you just keep on moving forward. That's more like Eshes Potiphar. Sof ma'asa b'machshava tchila. That's the aside. What you do, where you get, what you accomplish, it all reveals what your true intentions were and continue to be. It reveals something very deep. And therefore, one should shake himself awake if he finds himself in questionable territory. A takeaway, a second takeaway, If you want to build a strong, powerful edifice of something that's truly in God's name and is L'Shem Shamayim all the way through and maybe even bears the fruit of Mashiach, you must sift, filter, clarify with crystal clear beriros that you are truly acting for the sake of heaven. You must be sure that it is not a mistake, that it's supposed to be your daughter, supposed to be someone else, supposed to be a different organization, a different product, and it's not supposed to be me doubling down and doing this with a sense of drive and a sense of questionable actions. This topic is near and dear to my heart because in trying to really build this whole platform and motivation congregation, I often ask myself, am I acting properly? Because I initially thought to launch this entire platform. I remember I was sitting on the floor thinking about it. I asked my wife, should I do it? I wanted to start a podcast because I believe that if I gave myself the obligation to talk Torah, learn Torah, teach Torah, I would have to study Torah because my honor would be on the line. Maybe even a parnasa would be on the line, and that would require higher end Torah. I thought that that would be l'shem shamayim. It was something good, but there was also a fair amount to be lost. I was only 1 year into Kollel. Should I launch this? It's a bit scary to bring smartphones, technology, microphones, and cameras into one's life, especially at such a young age with such addictive capabilities that these technologies have. I had no idea if it was right. Should I even be using social media, podcasting, and WhatsApp, whatever that is, email to spread Torah? I asked Rabbi Stein about it. I couldn't get clarity. He eventually told me to go speak to Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky about it. I got a hold of him on November 10th, about 4 years ago. He told me if you think it will help people after I described what I had wanted to do, who I was, and where I currently was holding in life, he said, if you think it will help people, then you should do it. I took that back to Rabbi Stein. Rabbi Stein and I discussed how to go about it properly. Is it right? And how to do it. And to clarify how Rav Shmuel would want me to do it. Before some people told me, Rav Shmuel's too old, he doesn't know about technology, and Rav Nussenstein shouted all them down and said, of course Rav Shmuel knows, he's a Urim V'Tumim. You can take his word, it's good as gold. So that's what I continue to do. And I decided, we'll do podcast, but I'm not going to have Wi-Fi on my phone, no data. It'll be filtered, different Gedarim, but the intentions were all what I thought would be L'Shem Shamayim, and it continues to unfold before my eyes. The Sof Maisa, it reveals Machshava Tchila. It continues to be Machshava Tchila, being more and more revealed. The more good aspects of it, times that I have to ask myself, is this what my true intentions are and what Rav Shmuel wanted? Should it be on TikTok and Instagram? Maybe that's not what Rav Shmuel wanted. Maybe it is. You have to be able to clarify to yourself if you're in uncharted and unquestionable and questionably wrong territory, acting too far one way, too far the other way. And I'm not sure. But sifting, trying to understand, not going too far into any sort of foul ground, and acting like Tamar, that's what's at stake. It's a powerful vart. That you may think you're acting L'Shem Shamayim, and you may as well practically be acting L'Shem Shamayim for the sake of heaven. But if that leads you to funky places, it's probably supposed to be your daughter that spawns children from Yosef, and not you if it requires such lying and devious behavior. Be like Tamar. Check to make sure that things are done justly or in a way that are clearly divine, modest, truthful. That's how you really tell that you're acting L'Shem Shamayim. and you end up really cruising down the highway towards utopia, towards paradise. And your eventual attainment of that goal, the Sof Ma'aseh, will reveal your Machshava Tchila. Your end goal will always show your true purpose and your true intentions.
Kedoshim, Kilam Ma'ivim, Kilam Beredim, Kilam Geboinim, Kilam Doyeshim.